Hello there, thanks a lot for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard, and here's a lovely mid-60s concert poster right on the cusp of the birth of the folk rock movement, which was really a fun, exciting, outstanding movement of the 60s in rock music. You've got summer of 1965 and the Byrds out of the West Coast, featuring Jim McGuinn and David Crosby. If you furrow your brow and say Jim McGuinn, that's right, it wouldn't be till 67 that he changed his name to Roger McGuinn. Now this is just so early in the Byrds' career, it's crazy. The band formed in Los Angeles just the year before, 1964. And their first single, a cover of course of Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man, had just left the national top 10, and their debut album by the same name, Mr. Tambourine Man, had just entered Billboard's charts only 4 weeks before this concert. So this is really early in their career. And of course, if you're a music historian or Byrds fan, you know the advantage of such an early concert poster by them is the inclusion of Gene Clark. I mean, you know, what an outstanding songwriter, an important group, important element of the early Byrds with, for example, I'll Feel a Whole Lot Better on the first album. Can't believe that wasn't a single. I thought for sure it was. It's such a compelling album track. Well, Clark would leave the Byrds just 7 months after the show in February of 1966. So there just aren't a lot of Byrds concert posters that have what you would call Mach 1 of the group. You know, McGuinn, Crosby, Clark, bassist Chris Hillman, and drummer Michael Clark, no relation. So, you know, you've got the totally original lineup here for what they're calling, you know, the #1 group in the country. So, you know, yeah, that's a bit of hype for sure. You know, for a one-hit single, hello, I'm sure Beach Boys fans would be railing at that. Heck, Help Me Rhonda had just been #1 for them, and California Girls of the Beach Boys were entering the chart, matter of fact, this week, I think. So, you know, but whatever, that's what concert posters are meant to do, hype the act and sell tickets, right? And it's all fun now. So, and it's nice that you do have, above the Byrds' name and underneath that, I should come in for a little closer scan here, you do have Mr. Tambourine Man, the song, and the album title, if you will, listed on the poster. So that's nice, between the oval and the Byrds' name. And get a little bit closer and you can see it, it's very obvious there, in the typical globe font of this monochrome 14 by 22 inch window card from Globe Posters. So, you know, finding a Byrds concert poster, well, from the mid-60s, 66, 67, you can do it, but from 65, once again, boy, it's tough. I mean, you know, if you refer to birdsflight.com, a really helpful website put together by collectors, I mean, they just did tons of television taping and everything in Los Angeles prior to this, and they briefly opened for the Rolling Stones on a spring 65 tour, and then they did Hullabaloo and Shindig and Where the Action Is, and you know, surprisingly, in the summer of 65, there's only 3 documented, you know, Midwestern dates in July. It's crazy, in the states of Ohio, Illinois, and this one in Kentucky. Certainly there must have been others, but they just haven't been, you know, documented, the paperwork unearthed or whatever. But you just know they didn't play a lot of shows. And then in early August, right after this, the band took off for England, where, you know, they really made a splash, and they were called, you know, the most popular, you know, band in America and all this stuff, but they really set their sights on England. So, you know, then they came back to Los Angeles and did a whole bunch of TV, and then back to England again, where, you know, Beatles-related publicist Derek Taylor was hyping him to the moon in England, and they befriended the Beatles and everything. But, you know, there's just not a lot of chances to get concert posters in America for this Mach 1 version of the Byrds with Gene Clark in the band. So this one's a real treat for sure. This is really fun. Okay, once again coming a little closer just to take it from the top there, you can see it does say Gypsy Village in Fontaine Ferry Park. Unfortunately, the E was left off Fontaine for a typo there. That place itself has tons of history, especially a civil rights tip. It had been around for about 60 years, but it was forced to close by 1969, just 4 years later, due to civil unrest. So then you've got up there the standard date and time, the way it's presented. Excuse the glare off the glass here, of course, a framed piece here. And then you've got admission $1.50 and at the door $2. And I just love the, you know, the naivety. This wouldn't have been true in Los Angeles, but tickets were on sale for just one record store. That's where the tickets were sold for this. Oh boy, this band in Louisville, Kentucky was anything but mainstream in the mid-60s. I mean, they would get odd looks everywhere, but especially in the South, where long hair was least common of all at this period. And, you know, but, you know, you played on, right? You exposed yourself to everybody. And then speaking of odd looks, though, the Oxfords there, in fact, you can see it says Louisville's greatest. the Oxfords. Well, they were a local very hip and cutting edge and dressing with fashion and the longer hair and everything band. So they really must have had a great time at this show for this national talent to come in with a big record and for them to be the opening act. And then down there at the bottom you can see it says MC George Williams and the top 40 radio station WAKY, which I would bet my life was pronounced wacky. Of course it was for top 40 radio back then, the station getting a plug. And then down at the bottom you do have Globe Poster Baltimore. So boy, what a beautiful early, not just folk rock piece, or I should say not just Byrds piece, but the folk rock thing. I recently did a Sonny and Cher as well. I've done Dylan's and everything from 65 and so forth. It's the year that folk rock was really born and took the country by storm, at least for a couple of years. And the Byrds and Mr. Tambourine Man is, emblazoned upon all of us forevermore, a real evergreen. So it's great to have a vintage poster of the original lineup with that song on there. Hope you enjoyed the piece today. Thanks a lot for coming by, and we'll see you next time for something good. Okay, see you then. Bye-bye.